God damn.
What
Okay.
up?
Your dungeon is looking like it really came together, man.
So I remixed my office a little bit where I position myself because where I'm
Uh,
where I'm at now
Used to
is
be
my
over there by that stripy thing.
I was over here, yeah.
Is that
But
wood or just a wallpaper?
yeah, it's wood with like a sheet. It's kind of a hybrid. It's like Formica. It's not like official wood, but it's got like a layer on top.
Okay.
It looks the part, but it's
I mean, is it actually
yeah,
like
it's
are those actually little
panels.
sticks, panel things? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, those are panels.
Nice.
If you want to know what the hell we're talking about, you have to watch the YouTube. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, we could describe it in detail, like, right there. What is that called? MSRNC? What is that? RNCNC? The shit that people be getting off of people just talking about whatever, but with a weird voice.
ASMR.
Look at that. Mira,
ASMR.
mira. Eso mismo, eso mismo, eso mismo. Ay, me tiré un pedo, me tiré un pedo.
Yo, my kids are still obsessed with ASMR, bro. Like,
Really? That's
yo,
still a thing for them? You would think in this fast-paced world they would have gotten over it by now.
they're not so much gravitating to like the YouTube videos anymore, but like if we're in the house and I don't know, I squeeze a sponge with water in it or something, and
They're
they
like,
hear it,
ooh,
they're like, wow, that's so satisfying. I'm like, bro, what?
I don't know, man. I don't say that out loud anymore, bro. Because that's just weird, man.
Yeah,
Like
no,
I get it. I get it, but it's just most of the people that watch those videos is on some other shit.
it's on some other shit. Exactly.
Right.
No, my head immediately goes to like, yo, chill, don't say that. But I know it's coming from an innocent place, so I'm not trying to shit on it. But yes, it's like it feels like fertile ground for like these pervs that are all about these different fetishes.
No, and I think it spawned probably a whole generation of new fetishes. Like there's probably people that never had a fetish that they could bust off of I don't know, the sound of ripping carpet off the floor. And I
Yeah.
feel like now they'll be like, oh man, I'm so into ripping carpet off the floor. Baby, can you do that for me, babe? I'm gonna put this carpet in, but we're gonna rip that
just
shit the fuck out.
just
And we're gonna
rip
have
it.
kids.
Oh man, yo, K's not with us today. We miss him, but we will press on.
Yeah, no.
Um, yo, so lots going on in both of our worlds,
Yeah.
kid related things and other things. But what's new in the EFN household?
Bro, I feel like I say this all the time, but I don't know. My daughter, man, she's just wilding out on us. She she's
Yes, you do.
definitely
You do
we
say
do
it.
say it all the time.
I feel like it is every episode, if not every
Well,
other.
I thought that we got better at her and her brother's relationship. Um, she easily regresses, and I'm convinced that what she showed us early on from the day that we did the gender reveal where she cried, and then when he came home and she lost her mind and she's never been the same since. Like literally my daughter, her personality changed
When he came home.
when he came home. She went
Mm.
from a bubbly little baby. I don't know if this is my imagination, but I'm pretty sure this is the way it was. She was always happy, always sweet, always cute. And then like an anger came out of her when he came home. And that anger is there and it persists and it'll go away for a little bit, but then it'll come back. And then now that she's in school, she started kindergarten, she's definitely bringing back home uh personality traits and behaviors that were not, she didn't display them before. And so it's a huge issue for us because we don't know, this is all new to us. The kindergarten game and the beginning of school is all new to us, so we don't know how to navigate it. It's not like we can go to the school and watch through a two-way glass and pinpoint where she's getting these behaviors from or why it's happening. But she's coming home where she's throwing tantrums over everything. She's being more physical with her brother. She snaps very quickly. Like if he might do something that's not right either. Like he'll take a toy of hers or something, or or even just share something with her and that she doesn't want to share, and vice versa. She just loses it and will go immediately to physical, like to hit him or
Mm.
throw the item across the room. and just scream. The other night, and they were fighting over throwing these little floaty, those little floaty tugboats that you put for kids in the
The
bathtub.
bath. Hmm.
You know, it's like 5 or 6 of them in a pack.
Yeah.
My wife bought some, and then my daughter started throwing them into the bathtub. When it was bath time, and then he came running like, "Oh, I want to throw some in there too," and she was not having it. And he grabbed some from her hand, and then she yanked it out of his hand, and when I told her stop, she just threw it into the tub with all her might, and then she turned to him pretty point blank range and just like stuck her tongue out and spit, the tongue spitting thing like that in his face.
Oh,
So
I
I
think that's
kind of
I think it's called Gleek.
yeah, I
Some
don't know
shit
what
like
that's
that.
called.
Yeah, yeah,
It's called foul. And
yeah. Facts.
and my son, to his defense, man, he's he has his little attitudes, and he's a teenager now, so he's displaying certain behaviors, but man, he really controls himself when my daughter acts like that. And he usually
Like
doesn't, like, he
he
doesn't
shows
retaliate.
restraint.
Yeah, he doesn't retaliate, and when she goes crazy, he just like kind of like he ignores her
Wow,
usually.
that's maturity beyond his years,
Yeah.
bro. Because that's
So with
crazy.
so with her, like, because my wife has been losing her temper a lot because she's with her a lot more. So
Yeah,
she's been losing her temper a lot. And I've been trying to tell my wife, like, we gotta kind of be careful because we're finding ourselves with a short fuse with her. And I don't know that that's gonna be helpful. We're getting mad, we're yelling, sometimes, we'll give her a little shove if she's not moving fast enough. Like, we're
yeah.
doing things, and I'm like, I don't know if the approach, but like, for example, in this situation, which my wife is like, you see, like, I lost it because just seeing that disrespect to her brother like that just pissed me off. And then but then I yelled, but then what I did is like, all right, I went into a room and I grabbed a bunch of her stuff. She's like, nah, I'm going crazy. And I go, I'm taking this stuff, and you're not going to have it for right now until I feel that you're behaving a lot better. You're definitely not getting it tonight, maybe tomorrow if you behave. But, and if you continue this behavior, I'm throwing this stuff away. And I just grabbed random stuff that I knew she cared about. I wasn't even
You
thinking straight.
you went in
And
there like a raging lunatic. Like I'm gonna get
yeah.
this and that.
Yeah, I grabbed something that I was like, she don't even care about that. But I grabbed stuff
Yeah.
that she did. Out of the 6 things, she cared about 4 things.
Right.
Um, and then she calmed down. She asked a couple of, can I have it back? I'm like, no, tomorrow after the whole, you go to school, come back. If I hear that you've been good and I see that you're good, then you'll get it back. And she got it back the next day. But yeah, and we've had the teacher call us a couple times where she can't take no as an answer. She's not
Mm,
responding well to no. She'll have like a little tantrum.
yeah.
She'll cry. Um, she, I think I told you guys she was doing something with bugs. Did I say it last time on the episode?
I don't
Like, the
remember
teacher
bugs.
called us because it turns my daughter. There was a point not too long ago where she couldn't touch a bug, right?
Yeah.
Or a lizard. It was like, all of a sudden now she's picking up lizards, picking up beetles, picking up every bug in the world. And it's because a learned behavior from kids in school. And the teacher called us saying, she's trying to stop them because it's like, if they see a bug in the class in the middle of the teacher teaching, they all like, bug, oh, and they all try to go and grab it. And then they're killing these bugs by accident and
Yeah.
these lizards and stuff. So the teacher's like, yeah, it's a problem. It's not just her, but she's in the group that's like doing that and then sidetracking the whole class.
Hmm.
So my daughter went from the best student, according to the teacher that she had, to now, like, they call it clipping up and down. She clipped all the way down a couple times.
Oh man.
Um, and yeah, so that's just, it's frustrating because we don't know what to do. We don't know how to identify who she's learning. When we talk to her about school, she doesn't want to talk about school.
Sure, that's normal.
We're like, so tell us what you did. Who did you learn that from? Did you learn something? I don't remember. Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, she don't want to talk about anything, nothing good, bad, or in between. The only thing she talks about, which is another frustrating thing, and I don't mean to be so long-winded, is that since when did these schools start giving candy away, like as prizes, every week and almost every other day?
Aren't they supposed to like ask? They just give it up?
I mean, I don't know if they asked us, but all I know is at the end of the week, for sure, every week, if you've been good, depending where you're at on that clipboard, as long as you didn't clip all the way down, you get like a candy bracelet or something. But often in school, they're giving them candy. for different reasons, for whatever reasons. And I'm like, I don't know, man. All this, like, we weren't big on candy in the house. Now my daughter discovered candy for real, for real. Like, she knew it in Halloween,
Yeah.
but now she discovered it. Like, you could have it more
Anytime.
than Halloween. Like, oh, all right. And now candy's an issue.
Coño. Question about you said that she's having a hard time accepting no.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found that to be the case even before she went to school? Like, has that been just a thing of hers, or is this new to you?
It's not 100% new. She was exhibiting, you know, reactions to no. And my wife would say, like, I'm definitely the person that's like a hard no fast. Like, can I? No. And
Yeah.
my wife would be like, oh, that's a little too harsh, where my wife would try to be more like explain something a little bit more. Um, but in general, whether you explain it or not, she reacts pretty much the same way if she wants something.
So it's not
So
one of those things where you guys tell her yes so much that when she hears a no, she's like free.
it's probably to the point where I feel like she hears no more.
Mm.
And I remember, I think early on in fatherhoods, I told you guys I saw a quote or I saw a video, something about like the Buddhist way of raising kids,
Yeah.
where you're not supposed to say no to them or stop them from doing things. You're supposed to like
Let
kind of
them
like
explore.
ninja guide them into like another, energy movement rather than say no to them.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? They're supposed to explore, right?
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't feel good about being saying no all the time. Like, actually, when I say yes, and sometimes I think I'm about to say no, and I go, "There's no reason for the no right now." Go ahead. Yes.
No, that's why I was asking, because I find myself being kind of the same way. Like I'm the no guy typically. So my kids get used to not asking me anything. They don't get upset. Well, they don't like it, but they're not like, it doesn't cause like a rift in other things. But I'm also like tweaking that behavior of myself and like, yo, like assess it before you say anything. Like, is it really that serious? They get shocked because a lot of the times I'll say no to like garbage food that they want to eat, whether it's candy or treats and that kind of thing. And my wife is typically like the opposite. Like, she'll have that kind of stuff in the house and I try not to. So every so often I'll be like, yo, I'll go to Starbucks to get a coffee. Yo, y'all want something from Starbucks? And they're like, cake pop? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
My
And they're
daughter's
like,
the same.
yo, who is this dude? So, but it doesn't necessarily. So, like, damn. So you're thinking though, uh, the change. So it's two things. One, the relationship with her brother. You think that's still, for her an issue, and then two, the school factor and her learning certain things from school that are making it even worse, kind of overall.
Yeah. I mean, I think she's learning behaviors, and I don't want to be that parent that's like she's learning it from some other kid. Maybe some kid's learning some bad behaviors from her.
Sure, sure.
Um,
She
but
just maybe.
she's definitely changed since she started school.
I mean, that's not uncommon. Like, kids, like, school in a lot of ways is a new freedom for kids, right? Like,
Right.
like when they get into the rhythm of like real school, right? Kindergarten might still be a little bit more play, but it gets more structured after that. So there's a certain level of openness about that, and it's almost like I mean, it is. It's like a new life for them outside of their normal surroundings. So there's a lot of stuff similar to like the last couple of weeks. I was talking about how my son was like involved in certain things, and like it's a different person in school. And I think a lot of that is normal, but then you trying to figure out like where it's coming from is almost less important than how you help her understand, like, there might be a time and a place for certain things, but she's got to, that respect between her and her sibling, that I think is the core like thing that needs to be sorted out, because that's just not, it's not going to lead anywhere good long term.
Right. I mean, I think some of the issue too is the cycle, right? So we'll try to have those conversations with her. She'll sometimes you visibly see she tries
Okay.
to show some restraint. Depending on her mood. If she's like in a good mood or whatever, you can see that she tries. But the issue is that my son is a 3-year-old and he's going through his,
Yeah.
phase. And so then what happens is then he'll do something foul and or just not understanding because he's still learning and he's still little. So then she gets mad easily because she's like, well, you're telling me, but look at him,
Yeah.
you praise, like, I feel like she's looking at us like you always baby him and you look at him like he's the nice guy, and then look at what he's doing now. And yeah, sometimes he'll say no. Like he's like, I feel like he's learning off of her, and then we get mad at her, and then he does it, and then it's like a cycle that keeps, going around and around, and then we definitely deal with him differently because he's younger. So I
Yeah.
try to tell her as much as I can, is like, you're the older sister. You need to be the example. You need to understand that, like, sometimes when he does something to her, we're like, where do you think he learned that from? He
You
learned
say
that
that.
from you.
You
But
say that
she's
all the
not
time.
getting it.
No, no, no,
She's
no.
only 5.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. The age difference between them makes them a lot more similar than different, right? Because they're really close, and the expectation around her being the older child doesn't sink in because she's still like relatively small, right? So it's tough. What I find has worked, and it's different because of the age gap. Like my son and my youngest daughter, are the two closest in age, so 7 and 10. And what works, we'll see, and then you have the girl being the older in this scenario, which I think long term plays a benefit there. But my son gravitated toward my daughter immediately, and I think part of it is she was his little sister, and he's in the middle, so his older sister, to her, he's her younger brother, right? So
Right.
he liked the fact that there's that dynamic, and he was looking forward to being able to be the older to a younger.
Right.
You guys don't have that scenario, so it's different. But when they do, because they bicker often, my two youngest, and my son is mad petty and he does a lot of foul shit, but my daughter's no pushover, so she'll hit him back with the same, or worse, and then be like, yo, but he did it to me, and we have to have that same conversation. But there is a mutual respect and love that is more often than not the relationships that they carry. And what I've noticed is, again, like the age is the biggest challenge for you because they can communicate pretty effectively with one
Right.
another. And I think that was the piece that helped alleviate a lot of the turbulence, because that when they were younger there was a lot more of it. Now it's subsided some, and
And what's the,
it,
the the difference in your household? The age difference?
3 years between the two youngest,
Okay.
and then from 10 to 16, a 6 year difference between the oldest and my son. So yeah, I was gonna say communication, but even like, because I know you've had the conversation with her, like, yo, why do you treat your brother like that? Like, what's going on? And she's giving you whatever she's giving you. Have you had that conversation recently, not in the context of her getting reprimanded?
Hmm. I mean, what exactly is, like, you're saying, the conversation of them being close in age?
No. I'm asking, have you spoken to your daughter
Uh-huh.
on her, like, ideally, like in a happy situation, not like she just did something to her brother and then you're like, yo, why do you do that? Because
Right.
her reaction is gonna be different. But if, let's say everything's fucking perfect between them two, you guys, and you're having a really good day, and then maybe you pull her to the side and like ask her, like, hey, yeah, well, I guess you could sabotage the day also by doing it, but
Yeah.
like, but ask her like when things are relatively good, right? And like just check in and see, like, yo, like, what are you thinking about big bro, little bro? Like, what, why did you do this to him the other day? Or find a way to bring him up in a context for her to give you like what she
But
might be
she
feeling.
doesn't, she's not good at expressing her feelings. Like, she doesn't go deep with us. We try,
Yeah.
and she just doesn't, and the thing is, they fight over petty things. Like
Yeah, of
like they
course.
in the morning, it's who's gonna open the corral for the dog. We have it has the corral's a little door.
Yeah.
In the morning, they and then they fight over, like, even though we try to tell them, one day is you, one day is the next person. You take turns. My daughter had been doing it for the past 3 days. My son's like, it's me today, and then my daughter gets mad. Then my son does it, and then my daughter's mad, and then she wants to start this cycle of attitude from the morning. She's like being pouty and like giving an attitude. I'm like, and I told her this morning, I'm like, please, let's not start the day this way. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. I grab her and I hold her, and it's not, and she calmed down, but it's just they just play off each other, and like I said, it's a cycle that's never ending. And then if we're in a bad mood that day, one of the parents, then we jump into that cycle with them,
Yeah.
where we're all igniting each other, we're we're all triggered, by each other.
Yeah, you can't walk the walk anymore because you kind of in the shit with them.
Right.
It's tough. I tell you, like, you
Well,
just
real
gotta
quick,
have to go
a
through it.
friend, I told a friend yesterday at the gym, a friend of my wife and I, and she has an older, I think her son is like maybe 12 or 13, and then she has a baby. But she was like, "Oh, how's the family?" And I kind of told her about what's going on with my daughter. And she's like, "Oh, you should, sometimes they act like that if they're being bullied at school, and you should, maybe consider that." And part of me feels like maybe there's something there, but the only reason why I kind of discount that is that my daughter eagerly goes to school in the morning. She's a little too eager. I mean, trust me, if you tell her you don't need to go to school, she'll take that rather than go to
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
But I feel like someone bullied would really put in work to not go to school, like would come out with everything, like I'm sick, or cry in the morning, or go crazy, which she did early on.
Early.
Yeah, but she doesn't do that. So I don't feel like, if anything, I'm worried that she might be bullying somebody.
Mhm. I was gonna say, like, from the little interactions I've had with your daughter, like, she doesn't. I mean, I take that back. Anybody can be bullied, and the way it affects you could be different. Like, I don't want
Right.
to try to ignore
Minimize.
that,
Right.
but she felt to me like somebody, like you said, like she's tough enough, right? Like, and she can play and kind of roughhouse a little bit. So that's typically where I think at that age, like, the bullying can happen. It's like the roughhousing and people not liking it, but not knowing how to express it. So that takes off. Um, Definitely don't ignore that, but I agree with you. Like, from my experience anyway, like, it could be that. Um, but yeah, it's dope. It's dope, and at the same time sad that your son is able to ignore that, because that shit is tough. And I'm sure he has his breaking points every so
For
often.
sure. 100. Yeah.
But, like, it takes a lot of fucking, and maybe he's just not aware. Like, for him, it's just like, oh, that's just the way she is, and
No, no, no.
whatever.
Because in the past, it used to bother him. So
Oh,
my son is super sensitive, right? He's just a sweet guy, and if I'll tell you, this is how sweet he is and how sensitive he is. If and me and my wife were talking about this last night. If we tell him no for something, and it's not even a bad no, it's like he went to grab a knife, or he went to the electric socket and he's about to reach, and we're like, no, 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 don't do that, Papa. No, no, be careful.
yeah.
But in that tone, he feels like he's just hurt by that, almost like he did something wrong, he disappointed us for something that simple. And he puts his face, and you see it coming. His mouth starts to turn.
It does the.
Yeah, and then he starts crying, like it's like clockwork.
Ugh.
And it sucks because if I tell him no so instinctively, like quick, without thinking about it, that I would try to say something differently so he doesn't get like that.
Yeah.
So that's with us. But when my daughter does these things to him, you sometimes you see that little thing in his lip, like he's about to cry, but then it's like he internalizes. He goes, no, 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 and he like
Not,
holds it, and then
not today.
he just doesn't cry with her. It doesn't hit him the same way,
Wow.
and she does crazy shit to him, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whole different
And
level.
he like, it's almost like he's like, I'm not gonna give her the satisfaction type of vibe,
Yeah. Ugh.
Which I told my wife, as sad as it is, because my wife gets super emotional for my son. And I go, you know what? I'm proud of, and I'm happy that he's a sweet boy. He's tapped into his sensitivity. He's caring, cariñoso. But I'm also happy, like not happy, but I'd rather him go through this in the house,
Oh
because
yeah.
this is an example of the real world,
Yeah.
and him learn to deal with it, and he's learning to deal with it. I'd rather that happen under our watch, and it's not a bad thing that his sister's treating him like crap right now, because he's just learning. He's learning what people are like out there in the world. Oh, and side note, when my daughter, when I went off on her that day that she's like spit in his face, and I had seen this somewhere. I don't know where I saw this. I don't know if it was Chris Rock or somebody, some comedian I think was saying this in their monologue or in their act about like their kids, that they told their kids this. But I've been wanting to tell my kids, and I don't even know if this is the right thing to tell the kids. So we make her go into her bed. We're like, that's it. You're going to sleep now. It's time. I mean, it was time to go to sleep anyways. And she's there all like upset because I took her stuff. And then I told her, you know what? I just want you to know nobody outside of this house cares about you like we do. In fact, they don't care about you. I don't know who, tag or give credit to whoever out there said that, because I know it was like a comedian. And I was like, they do not care about you out there. And I'm like, damn, am I kind of like crushing her right now at a young age? And then I was like, the only people that really care about your well-being and your happiness is in this home and your grandma and some of your relatives, but and some close friends. But everybody else out there in the world, even your teachers to an extent, don't care about you. They care about you in terms of they want you to learn, and in that moment, they're keeping you safe. But if they're not your family and your close friend, they do not care about you. Get this through your head. And I'm trying to tell her, like, these friends that are teaching you these bad habits, the world out there, you want to throw a tantrum in the world is gonna throw a tantrum right back at you. No, or get you back. Like, they don't care. Like, they don't care about your tantrum. Like, we're the only ones that care.
We often find ourselves saying the same thing when we feel like our kids are almost like listening to other people and not paying attention to what we're saying, because they take whatever advice is given to them from somebody else as gospel and then kind of ignore what we have to say. And then we got to remind them, like, yo, and we bring examples. Like, that's the best way I found to be able to communicate with my kids, right? Like, I got to make it as real to them as possible based on their lived experience. Otherwise, it's all hypothetical. It's like the old school dude, saying, man,
right.
back in my day, like that shit doesn't resonate with them.
Right.
So, but it does help to ground them, because they're like, yo, wait a minute. I understand the context in which he's speaking now. Cause like, yeah, why would that person be invested in my success, safety, whatever, when I only interact with them on these certain situations, right? So like, it resonates, and I think it's a good thing. I think some people might consider that like overkill, probably, but I'm with it. I totally do that shit myself.
Yeah. Well.
So something you said earlier kind of triggered the thought. How you said like when you and your wife and everybody in the household kind of gets in the shit, right? And what you say you're not acting on anymore. You kind of just rolling with your emotions and letting your emotions kind of take over like your kids do. And it's something that happened to me this weekend. We're driving to my son's basketball game, and I'm already like talking shit to my son, basically, is what's going down. So I'm because the night before, he didn't take the necessary steps to prepare himself for a game the next day, right? So you want to rest up. You want to like we're like pushing him to like do the things that a basketball player should be doing in order to excel on the basketball court. Not because, I mean, yeah, of course we want to see him excel, but because he said that that's what he wants. He wants to perform at the highest level, and he could use the help. So that's what we've done. But when we hold him accountable, he's kind of just like, whatever. So I was like that morning, and I was like, yo, had you gone to sleep early, you wouldn't be tired right now. And then that's going to show up in the game, and you're not going to, perform at the highest level, and you're probably going to be shit to, your team. And I'm saying all this stuff to him. And then my oldest daughter, which we've tried our best to help her use her words is, I guess, the most fairest to say, but like, say what she feels, right? And not be afraid to say what she feels to me, to her mom, to anybody, because otherwise nobody's going to hear you or see you. And then what you want doesn't get considered. And she stood up for her brother and was like, in a very like respectful way, she was like, Dad. So I knew to shut up. And then she's like, you could really you could really have approached that differently with him. You could have told him positive reinforcement instead of, focus on the negative. And and I'm hot, right? I'm talking to him like with emotion because I'm frustrated that he didn't take the right measures to be ready. And not, it's easy for me to be like, I wouldn't say this to her, but like, shut up, little girl, you don't know what you're talking about. Like that could easily come out of somebody's mouth in a moment like that. And I just shut up. I bit my tongue. I just let her talk. And I acknowledged what she said. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And I apologized to my son. And I was like, that's exactly what I want you to always do. I don't care when something is wrong, it's wrong. Right? Like if it's your parents doing it or saying it, or if it's somebody else and you don't approve and it moves you to speak, speak. Because like I told you before, like nobody's going to hear you. And it's hard to penetrate what people are saying or doing if you don't activate your voice.
Right.
So I was really proud because that's something we've been preaching, and she caught me in my shit and was able to help me backtrack. So the moral of the story is, your kids, if you emphasize that, I think they'll pick up on it, and when they're mature enough, they'll be able to hold you accountable. You just have to be able to pause and not let your emotions ruin the habit that you're trying to create.
All right. Yeah, I mean, look, one thing I've been thinking about a lot is all these stages that these kids go through. Is they're just different hurdles and different new problems and new behavioral things, and if we get, as the parent, if we get frustrated and we get upset, we're going to be frustrated and upset forever until they're adults and out of the home, and there's no point in that. That's what I'm starting to come to grips with. I want to create structure, I want to have discipline, but at what cost
Exactly.
is the question,
Yeah.
and
There needs to be guardrails, but there doesn't have to be like this dictatorial like
right.
structure in your house.
Yeah, because then the kids, look, we already know that for the most part, kids are going to grow up and become adults. And no matter how good of a parent you are, there is something that they're going to be upset about your parenting when they're an adult and say, well, you affected me in this way in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So if you can start to think at an early age, okay, what can I try to mitigate or control and make better in the home in terms of the environment and in terms of like the time spent. That's something I've been talking to my wife about. Like, it just, to me, it's a waste of energy and time to get upset over certain things, like, running. I mean, mind you, to her defense, me and my wife, when we talking about like like being on time to something,
Mhm.
school especially is super important. But I just feel like that letting yourself get upset because the kids are moving a little bit slower, it's like, what do you expect? They're kids, and if we get upset, we're just gonna get upset every single day.
It's so the way we try to approach that, and it works to a large degree, is like, all right, it's not working if we wake you up at, let's say, 8 to get to school by 8:30. Right. So all right, let's wake you up at 7:45. Let's wake you earlier. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, it sounds like your daughter and mine have that similarity where it's not every day, but more than my other two kids, she'll wake up cranky, like not with it, not wanting to
Yeah.
move, crying over everything at 7. And we just like we try not to attack her when she's in that moment, but I do, and it sounds like you do the same. I pull her to the side and I'm like, yo, this is, you're choosing for today to be a tough one. Now you could, what that looks and feels like. Is that how you want to start your day? Or do you want to kill this and start fresh? And for all of our kids, when they've had cranky days, we'd be like, we pretend like that person that they are, that cranky person is not them, right? And then we'll be like, yo, why don't you go dump the brat in the toilet and flush her down? And then they get into it like, oh shit, yeah, all right. It's kind of their opportunity to like restart.
Right.
And at 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, that worked really well. So they would just like go to the bathroom and like even like motion like they're taking something off and putting it in the toilet, and then we let them, flush, and then they gather themselves and then come out, and it's like a brand new person.
I did. We don't have that in the house, but one thing that I always do that's semi similar is I used to go. I mean, I still do it sometimes. I would go and I would like rub them. Latinos would understand this, and definitely if you're, I'm not a santero, but if you're a santero, you would definitely understand this. I would be like, "Sacúdate, sacúdate," like if I'm doing a limpieza on them,
Yeah.
and they just start laughing and giggling about it because I'm like, "Sacúdate," and I'm going all over their body, like, "Sacúdate." That's worked a couple times.
They get into it though, because you're doing
Yeah, because I'm telling them I'm getting rid of like the bad energy and the
Yeah.
bad mojo. I'm like, "Sacúdate, sacúdate."
It's to translate. It's basically just shake it off, right? So they're just like helping them shake off the
Yeah,
the
like
bad juju.
I mean, in the world of the religious world that believes in that stuff, respect to them. It basically is you're taking off any,
Negative.
negative anything, evil eye or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But,
I mean,
I think since your kids are still like 4 or 5 years old, well, 3, 4, 3 and 5, like
3, 5, 6, 7.
you know what I said? Trying to even when you're pissed, that's the hardest thing though. That's it's easy to say, but try to flip it to something that is a game where you're still able to convey whatever you're trying to convey, but then like gamify it a little bit so that maybe they can get out of that funk in a positive way, right? But it's all circumstantial, man. It's tough.
And I think as parents, we have to check our pride and our egos, because oftentimes I find myself saying, no, you can't get that, or you can't do that, or you can't eat that. And they're like, yes, I want it. I'm going to do it. And then I get mad and I'm like, how you define me? Like, hell no. Like, don't you know who I am? Like,
Yeah.
But then I'm like, is it really that bad that they get the pouch? Maybe they ate enough today, but what is it? Is that veggie pouch that bad for me to go and stand on, on that right now? Like, come on. Like,
yeah. No, it's true. And even like certain things that come out of their mouth that inherently they don't understand the context of, but they repeat because maybe you in the household say it or they saw it somewhere, but it's foul. Right? It may not be a curse, but it's close. And if you feel disrespected as a parent, but I think like it infuriates me, but I'd be like, yo, little girl, better watch your mouth. And that's the warning. And I kind of just leave it like that. So, and then she'll ask sometimes, like, what did I do? And then you explain it, but like, gotta check the pride and the ego for sure.
Well, just love the kids.
Love them
Listen,
kids.
we're about to get out of here. Because I can't talk to you anymore, buddy.
Yeah, I'm tired of seeing your face.
But before I leave, let me leave one lighter thing that my daughter did tell me. She has a weird thing now with old people. Like, which is kind of foul because she was like calling people like, that person's old.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Did your kids ever do that?
Yeah,
or do that?
They have. Yeah,
right.
They still do actually.
So
if you're 45 plus, you're old to them. They're like, you're ancient.
Well, no, she would say it when genuinely with an older grandma looking person. Yeah. So then she was saying something about someone being old, and then she looks at me, and I've been waiting for it. I have a full white beard. I'm waiting for either her or her friends to say something to her. And she's like, Daddy, you're almost old. Which is her nice way of saying you're old. And then and I was like, why you say that? Because of the white beard? She goes, mm-hmm. I said, all right,
yeah.
girl.
Oh all man. Right. Last thing related to that, like older movies, anything, let's call it 90s and before, 80s and 90s. My kids, when they see me catching up on one of those flicks, they'll be like, oh, Dad's watching one of those movies from the olden times. Yo, and I'm like, damn, bro, because as soon as they see the old, like, looking video, they're like, yo,
isn't that the worst, man? Like, we never knew what good video was back then. So to us back then, that was what it was. But I try to show them like Scooby-Doo or like these old cartoons, and you could tell that they kind of like, they would like it, but they're not gonna watch that old looking stuff.
Yo, I got so excited when Thundercats was. I think it might have they put it on Netflix maybe. I can't remember. And it was the old joints. And I'm watching it. I'm like hyping it up. Yo, y'all don't understand how dope this shit used to be back in the day, blah, blah. And they're like into it. Yo, I put it on. Womp, womp. Yo, them dudes is like, yo, I'm out. This shit 2 minutes in. Yo, this shit's garbage, dad. Like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm out of there.
But next episode, we got to talk more about the content. We got to go back into discuss the content these kids are consuming because we got some weird content coming through the tube lately.
Yeah, and there's some news that I want to share too that my wife came across with Roblox that
I heard something.
Yeah, we'll save it for the next episode though. That's y'all that's the end of this episode, y'all. So tune in next week
Yeah,
and treat them kids right. You heard?
Pizza.